Okay, so I'm going to start up. First of all, I'm going to go get a example from ChatGPT, and I'll see what it gives me. So I'm going to just go to a new window here in my browser, go to ChatGPT, and I have previous links, chat.openai.com. If I'm not already logged in, it'll say it'll ask me to log in. I always choose to log in with Google. Okay, here's the question I'm going to give it: Visual Basic example application. I don't even know if I have to say application. Application, animated graphics, bouncing ball. And it gives me some explanation of what's going to give me, assuming basic understanding of Visual Basic, and that's hopefully where you are right now. And it does say Windows Forms application, because, and I didn't say Windows Form, but it's going to use Windows Forms. That makes me comfortable because I've used Windows Forms. And it gives me some code. I'm going to skip over the code and jump to its explanation of it. And they explain it that they create a picture. They have a picture box named ball, representing a bouncing ball. There is a timer that updates the ball's position, and we'll see how timers work then. The move ball method is going to check for collisions with the boundaries and changing direction of the ball. Oh, and they're using an on paint method to draw the ball. So they are redrawing a ball on the form. So they are using some image that's being moved as they bounce the ball. So even now, this is different than what it gave me before. Even though I think I gave it about the exact same phrase. They do mention that I need an image to go with my moving object. Well, this is where you have to take what they give you and figure out what to do with it. Okay, so I have this code, and let's just take a look at it here. It starts with a Windows Forms public class bouncing ball form. Okay, so when I create a application, remember I get public class form 1. It looks like they renamed their form to bouncing ball form. And let's see. Okay, so they're declaring different objects, and right away I see some new things that I haven't used before, but we'll copy paste that into my application and see how far I can get. So they declare a bouncing ball form, and then they have these new things. Oh, do they have they have an on paint? We'll see if we can work with this and basically see what happens. I think I can get by with, I don't think this has to have the name bouncing ball form. I think I can just put this inside of my public class form 1. I don't think I need to rename my bouncing ball form. Let's find out. I think all I need to do is go from there down to here, and paste that into my code, and I think, and then there may be something missing. Let's find out. That's my plan. It gives me a big class of a form. I'm going to just copy paste what's inside of there, starting after the public class all the way to the line right before the end class. So I'm going to Control-C copy, and now I'm going to start a new application. So here we go, new application, starting up Visual Studio. Why is my toolbar? There we go, Studio coming up. Studio, Visual Basic Studio 2022, and I'm going to start a new project. What's that? Way to go! Okay. Now, when I create my projects, from now on, I'm creating Windows Forms, but I'm using .NET framework because I remember that that's what I needed to use to connect to databases, and I always want that capability from now on. So I am now going to use Windows Forms instead of the very first Windows Form app, because I don't think I could connect to the database if it wasn't a .NET framework. So I'm going to always now use the .NET framework, and then click Next. And I'll call it WF Windows Forms app.net. And it's going to be animation, bouncing ball. And I'll put my name in there, Manning. Created in that path location and click create. I already copied the code. I'm going to do nothing but try to paste that code and see what I get. It may break. I may get red. Let's see what happens. I'm going to Form 1, and I'm going to right-click View Code. I think I could have gone View Code up there too. And now there's my class Form 1. I'm just going to paste in, and I'll put a little comment here. Start of paste from GPT example. And end of paste. Paste in what it gave me, and I can always come back and add more comments later, what phrase I used. Paste it in there. Ooh, I did get a little piece of red, so I don't have perfect code. Let's see what's red. Oh, it needs new bouncing ball form. I think I can just change that to be new Form 1, and I'll be good. Because remember how I had changed it from public class bouncing ball form? I'm going to leave it to be what it gives me, Form 1, just because I've seen troubles trying to rename my class before. So I'm going to come back here and rename this Form 1. What I'm going to do here, just to put a comment about what it gave me, just so I need to see the original, and I'm going to put in there application.run new Form 1. And I think that's the only change that I had to make. And I don't see red anymore. Do you think it'll work? Let's find out. This actually is quite a bit different than my first one. The first one I had to actually create a timer. It looks like they are actually creating a timer inside the program. One of the first examples I got, it said, oh, this assumes you have a panel and a timer in your application. So even though ChatGPT can become a big crutch, it does throw some different code at you each time. And I'm not sure why, because the phrase isn't that different. But that's what you have to be ready for if you're going to use AI. It may not give you the same starting point. Let's see what I have if I run this. Don't see a window yet. Is it broken? Oh, I have path to your, it needs an image. Okay, so it needs an image, and I need a path to it. I hadn't noticed that. Okay, so I need a from file, but it gave me a decent comment here. So I need to replace that with an image. All right. So let's go find an image of a ball, and I think I can import that into my application. Let's see how I can do that. Let's go to, first of all, I'll go find an image. Let's go to my browser. Go to images.google.com. Now you may not have, if you did the similar phrase or not quite the same phrase, you may actually have working code already, right, Harley? Is it working already for you?
It's working.
Okay.
My ball is in the shape of a square, but I can change it.
Okay. So I'm going to go get an image, and how about a basketball season. I would like an image with transparent background. I'll go look for a GIF. How about a PNG transparent background? I don't want anything licensable. Let's see. Sometimes they pretend they're transparent. Let's try this guy. Sometimes that actually has the checkerboard if you try to download image. Sometimes not. I'm going to do a save image as, it's saved as a JPEG. I know JPEGs don't have transparency, so I know I'm not getting the transparent background. I'll go ahead and save this one over in, I'll save it in my downloads over there. And I'm going to change the name from the long ugly word to basketball. B-ball. There's a JPEG. Now let's visit the site and let's see if they have the transparent one available for me. Just give me the ball. There we go. Basketball cartoon. Looks like it may be transparent. Let's click on that. And now I don't want the ad. Will it download? There we go, free download. I'm thinking that's the right button. Download, okay, should start. Let's see if I do get a PNG file. Yes, it is a PNG, and it is in my downloads. I'm going to call that bball.png. Now remember, PNG and GIFs are the only ones that can have transparent backgrounds. Okay, now I'm assuming that I don't have to have a JPEG. Let's go back to my code now. And now I need to put the path to my ball right there. All right, so I guess I'll use the raw path right now. Ideally, it should be in with my project, but I'm going to be lazy and go to my downloads folder in there, and the path to it is right there. I think I can just click up here, Control-C, copy that path, and add to it bball.png. So d downloads bball.png. So let's go back to my code. And again, I'm going to put the original here. Oh, I have to stop my program just because I don't mean to be in the middle here. I'm going to quote that just to show what I originally got, and then update that to be ball.image equals image from file. And I'm learning code, well, just by example. Oh, here's how to get an image read in, and here's my path, d downloads /bball.png. So helpful code. Again, you can add to comments here. Original from ChatGPT. Can I do PNG? Well, here's the best way to find out if PNG will work. I'll put the path to the PNG, see what I get. No red anymore in my code. And now, before even reading through the code, I'm going to now run it and see what happens. I know that's a valid path. This is assuming my program can read from that path. Here's what I get. So it is bouncing something, but it's a huge image, so there's no scaling going on. And this is where it's left to you now to figure out, how do I fix this? If I don't want a gigantic ball, this is now where you're left to figure out, okay, I have to figure out what's happening. It looks like that little guy is bouncing properly. See how that little red box does hit the edge and come back and do its bouncing. This other giant image with it is interesting. And maybe because I used a PNG. Let's see if it behaves differently if I use a JPEG than PNG. So let's change that to the JPEG that I had downloaded originally. And now run it again, because I remember I had saved a same name JPEG. See how that program looks. This one looks a little different now. It's the thumbnail of the basketball, yet for some reason that little corner basketball is what's bouncing. The other thing is just kind of hanging around with it. Well, we'll not worry about fixing that yet. Let's just see how this program works. But I'm going to stop and let you get yours working, and then we'll walk through the code, and you can compare yours to mine. So I'm gonna pause the recording right now and go around and see if you got something similar. So I see now in the initialized ball, this basically determines what that thing is that's going to be bouncing around. It's created on the running of my program right here. When my form is started, there's this variable pbox ball that I've renamed from just the plain word ball that is apparently the ball thing that's bouncing around. Okay, and here is the new thing that starts everything. We'll come back to this part here. Here's the initialized ball part that happens first. This sets the size of my program, I think. So I'm going to put a little comment here. Size of, I'll call it the parent window. My app. Okay. And now the interesting part, after initializing and setting the colors and things, And I can play with that, just experiment. Here is where all the action happens. This is the part that causes my ball to move. And what this does, this is part that gets kind of complicated if you try to do this on your own. This causes my window to be redrawn. I don't know if you have an invalidate in yours. I think I have an invalidate because it's redrawing something, and if you're not redrawing something, just moving an object, I don't think you need to redraw and need this invalidate. And what I can do is comment that out and see what difference it would make in my program. Let's see what move ball does. It changes the position of this ball object that has a left and a top, picture boxes, because remember that's a picture box. And the speed is actually a change in X and Y. So I guess that that's a better name for that is distance to move every time tick. So I can make it more complicated, but that's essentially my how far it moves X and Y in the when I move it. And of course, the simple checking for position. Notice here this time, hardly in yours you saw it did a times equals -1. I like that better than ball speed x equals negative ball speed x. So I'm going to change that code. I like times equals -1. To me, simpler looking code, reverse direction. So I'm going to change that just because I like the simpler looking code, reverse direction. And I don't think I broke it. Unless sometimes you do this thinking, oh, that should be a simple fix, and you don't realize a ramification of a simple change like that you don't see. But I think with this one, we're not going to see any ramifications because the negative ball speed x is the same as multiplying by -1. So that just changes the position of my picture box. But remember, the move ball gets called, and this me.invalidate. Basically, what this does is this causes my on paint to fire. So I'll call it on paint. I'll call it auto renew. And that's something that there's nothing that says, if I want to draw something, why do I have to invalidate? And what does invalidate do? Well, they just throw this code to you, and I don't even know if they explained it in the ChatGPT results of what that was about. And this is the danger of ChatGPT, is it'll give you code that, let's see, the on paint is overridden to draw the ball. Let's see here. It doesn't explain the invalidate. It just says the on paint method is overridden to draw the ball on the form. So it's expecting you to understand that the invalidate is what causes that on paint to happen. And I'm just telling you that because I've messed with the graphics enough. I had to figure this out on my own back in the day. They didn't have ChatGPT giving you the answer. Is it working?
Yeah. I had to basically, guide it along.
Yeah. And that's the challenge. I'd say, the coding world of tomorrow is going to be using these tools as either, hey, how did I connect to database again? Hey, ChatGPT, show me an example. You could say write the function or give me the whole application. And then it's up to you to figure out, to read through what's in there. So unlike writing papers, where your paper can almost be the final product, with what ChatGPT gives you, you need to walk through. And of course, if you are going to use it for any application, put in your comments, I use this phrase with ChatGPT, and that's got me started. Now before I forget, let me go back to my phrase that I gave it and copy paste that. There's the phrase I gave it. Not a whole lot different, more specific, so maybe that's why I got more specific results, or I'd say more detailed results. I'll say ChatGPT phrase from phrase. I might even have to, if I'm documenting this carefully, I might even have to give it the date 11/28/20 23. Do you know what version I'm running if I'm in there? What version? Chat are you? See if it tells me. So there I can just tell I'm using the ChatGPT 3.5. And I'm going to bug Eli to figure out how to get to the later version. If that's hard, if I have to use a different account or something. But I'm going to copy paste. That's the architecture. If you do use ChatGPT, I'm going to put that in my documentation. That's the source. And it's going to be different next month probably, because even though it's using old information, it may still be smarter in what information it has gathered. So we have a picture box. We have the integers that determines my x and y speed. I'm thinking, you know, I want to make this, how about make this random? Just throwing in ideas, or should we have it set with a slider? That might be fun. Let's maybe add this, adjust with slider. I think I might have an x and y, adjust my x and y velocity with a slider. But first, let's get it working, because we got some issues with mine yet. I've got the weird behavior of the ball. Let's go back to the drawing part. Actually, it's not too bad. Here's the drawing. Now, it does the graphic things for you that I would have had to go online to see. How do I start drawing graphics? This whole on paint, my based on paint, I don't know where I would have known to do that. Dim G as a graphics equals e.graphics. Ooh, that again, that's kind of obtuse, and it might help to see that E is the event that on paint has as a parameter, contains the event data. On paint, what does it do? It raises the control paint event, and then e.graphics is what I need to draw on. So getting to this point, this is a very good help with ChatGPT. Now with yours, all you're probably doing is just in a timer tick, just moving a picture box. Where here I am using graphics to redraw. Now I am expecting, because I am redrawing an image, I'm expecting mine, if I sped it up, I think mine would be chunkier than yours, because all this stuff, depending of course how efficient my graphics card is, this stuff can take some time to do all this, especially when you're doing intricate movement. Right now I don't think we'll see it too chunky because it's only one thing. Let's see how chunky it looks. I'm getting fairly simple move, but you can still see though, if I watch that, I'm seeing that jump. When you're doing it right nicely, you don't even see the jumping. It's just a smooth movement. And this is something that I have just seen with Visual Basic. It just gets larger, not super efficient. There may be ways to smooth that out. It bugs me a little bit that I'm seeing that chunky jumping kind of effect, even though you know, I'm not hardly doing anything else on my PC. Can you imagine if I wanted more bouncing around? That I'm going to have a lot of chunkiness. Let's go adjust some things here. I think what I want to do here is let's add a slider and to adjust my ball speed x and y. Now I have this variable that it's using every time the timer ticks. It calls move ball. Oh, and by the way, the timer tick. Here's where we created the timer. Again, we're doing this with creating it from a program instead of having it on there in the designer. But it's essentially the same thing. I have a timer, and created. I could say created at runtime instead of in designer. Yours, I can see you have a timer 1 that you had to go manually put into your application. Mine created that timer on the fly. So this is a great way to see that you don't have to have it in the designer, although I kind of like having a designer because then I can mess with properties in a nice graphical interface, where here I have to know, well, what's available in a timer? Well, I can go here and figure out with autocomplete, I can do timer dot and see, oh, what can I do with timers? Oh, look at all the things I can do. I can start, stop, dispose of them. I have no clue what site means, but I can do a lot of things with timers. I don't know why do I have start and stop listed twice? One's with the star and one's without the star. I haven't noticed that, know the difference there right now. But it throws a timer at you. In this example, I didn't have to create it manually. The only thing I had to do with this example, it was broken until I gave it a path to an image. And I don't like that path being an absolute path on my system, because it won't work on someone else's system unless they have that exact same path, which is unlikely. So I think this would probably be better load of image from wherever my application is, but for now I'll live with this absolute path. Now I'm going to tinker with this one now. I'm going to adjust, well, let's run it and see how it behaves, and then I'm going to adjust the speed with 2 sliders. Now with this one, because it's reading the size, well, it's doing the bouncing here. Notice I resize my window. Uh-oh, it's never coming back. What happened? Oh, here's back. If I want to resize my window, I think I have to resize it from the bottom left corner. Otherwise, remember how that reversing part, if it's over here on the right, watch what happens. If it's over here on the right and I quick readjust my window, it never comes back. You know why? Because if you look at the bouncing ball, if I am ever past the ends of my window left or right, it just keeps reversing the direction. Well, and it never gets back inside the window, so next time it comes around, oh, it's still beyond the boundaries of my window and is sitting there reversing the edge. And I'll see the effect of that if I go back and catch it again and just catch one of them. Sometimes you can catch that right on the edge of your window. In this case, there, see how it's caught on the edge? It sees that anytime the new position is beyond the edge, it reverses direction, but because of the way I moved the window, I caught it. It never gets back inside, so it's constantly reversing the direction every time. This is a strange behavior you'll see because of the way my reverse direction is. I can catch it on the edge of the window, and it sees, oh, I'm past the edge of the window, I need to reverse. And because it's only coming back reversing direction, it never gets back inside the window because of the way I've messed with adjusting the window right at the time where he's reversing. So the fix for that would be make sure that your new position is inside the window, because your user may be adjusting your window size at the time that you're changing direction, like that. Kind of interesting effects you'll see as you start doing graphics like this. You think, why am I getting stuck on the edge of a window? And you finally realize, oh yeah, it's not getting back inside, so it keeps reversing direction. And finally, I adjust the window back. So in my bouncing position here, where I bounce, notice here I am checking the boundaries of my form. So I'll put in here, form size can change. Should bounce within form, but sometimes there's problems. So I could fix this code to just say, oh, if the ball is beyond the edge of my window too far, pop it back inside the edge, or I'm stuck out there bouncing on the edge. That's one little quirk of graphics. Now let's see what else. Anything else that I can break? This is your code testing part. Oh, look at that, I broke it just by adjusting that. Got to go catch it again. And now when it comes back, I can start adjusting it. And now it'll bounce within that new window. It's because I have very simple code. I simply reverse direction instead of getting it back inside the window. So I could put a little comment here.
There we go.
Oh, I was wondering how soon you were going to be doing that. Fix, make sure we are inside the rectangle, the client rect. If I'm not inside the client rect, at least by this distance, I'm going to be stuck constantly reversing speed because I never make it back inside. Same thing in the Y direction. Now let's add a slider now, and just so I can modify what ChatGPT has given me. So I'm going to come here to the designer, and I want to add a slider. I'm going to have an X slider and a Y slider. So let's go back to common controls. Where's my slider? Checkbox. Huh. Where's my slider? Maybe it's not a common control. Was it? What would it be? Let's go all. All. H. Oh, it's a scroll bar. Oh, of course, an H scroll bar. I'm gonna grab one over there, and I'll put it H scroll bar here. No. There we go. H scroll bar. Yeah, we'll put it up there. And let's just get that one working, and then we'll worry about the vertical one. So H scroll bar, I'm going to, let's see, what are its properties? It has a small change of 1, a value of 0 right now. Does it have a minimum size? There we go, maximum of 100. So it looks like the default, a scroll bar goes from 0 to 100. Okay, let's double click on the scroll bar. Now I have to figure out, basically what I want to do is simply change ball speed X, right? So I'll put a little comment here, change ball speed X. So that would be, what's the ball speed X variable equals, how do I get at the value of my scroll bar? Well, let's try H scroll bar 1 dot, what do I have? Oh, look at that, dot value. Oh, it looks like the most common ones have the stars in them. That's why they're at the top with stars. Let's try value. And so then the ball speed X should go from 0 to 100. I don't know if, well, I guess we can stop it, X and Y. Let's see if this works by just simply changing that ball speed X. Let's now, where'd my scroll bar go? I don't have a scroll bar. Where did it go? There it is. Why is it not showing? Is it because of my scaling problem? No errors. Why is my scroll bar not visible? No scroll bar. Oh, you know what? I'll bet you in the redrawing, it is erasing my scroll bar. Remember how it's in this code he gave me? He's redrawing my entire window. I wonder if I have to do a H scroll bar 1 dot show. I wonder if I have to do that every time I redraw my window. That would be irritating. Nope, it's not there. And I'm stuck in an infinite loop. Oh, yeah. Not to it, it's to an object. Oh. I can't, I got an error here. I can't do that. Well, I am sad. I think this, I'm just suspicious that the on paint is not redrawing my scroll bar, and that's why my scroll bar isn't appearing. This is because I started with a ChatGPT example that instead of using objects I was in control of, it created them here. So that's not going to work. So I'm going to comment that out. That does not work. And I'll put a little comment, trying to make my scroll bar visible. let's try that up here. Maybe I can do that up here where I'm initializing. Here's where the ball gets added. Do you think I have to do? Let's see if I have to do this. Me.controls. Controls. Add H scroll bar 1. I wonder if that's needed. Well, it's not there.
Do you think it's because you never added a picture box to your design or in the first place? Because isn't that like sort of a container on its own, like the scroll bar is not having that?
Let's see. It's in the, it should be in the form though. I would have thought. Let's see. Use. Wait, cursor values are visible. True. Okay, I thought maybe visible was set to false by accident. Dock, none. Let me try docking it. Let's see. Let's try docking to the top. Maybe that's all I need to do. Enable true. Let's try that. See what happens. Nope, still not there in the app. Locked false. Visible true. Top left. Context menu strip. Is there an option there? Context. Oh. None. I thought I'd change the color or something. I don't see any color I can apply to it. Visible is true. You'd think there'd be like back color. Can't I adjust the color of a scroll bar? All because the application I was given is doing the objects on its own. Well, let's see. You're back here in the form. Here's where it had the picture box. I have an H scroll bar. Why isn't it showing on my form? I am overriding. It is overriding the on paint. I am wondering. I'm thinking it's here that is broken. Now, for some reason, my scroll bar. What I'm writing on is the graphic of the paint event, and the timer is doing the invalidate my entire window. I think this is causing my window to actually erase my scroll bar. To test that, I'm going to comment this invalidate part out and just see if this is what's causing my scroll bar to go invisible. And I have to figure out some way to get it to reappear every time I redraw. Let's just see if that's what happens. Here, without the invalidate, my scroll bar still is not appearing. But see how my ball isn't wiping out the previous leftovers from the system? It is bouncing, but I'm not redrawing everything. And yet, my scroll bar is still not there. The move ball doesn't do any invalidating, but the redraw does do the draw image. There's the on paint. The move ball does not do any invalidating, and that's the only thing that timer tick is doing. So it feels now, maybe I can't have that there now. It just feels like I think I have broken everything that the designer gives me. I think the way this is being done, it erases what's normally done on an application. Because it's overriding the visual form.
I may be wrong, but you can see like the P box that you have in your code. Do you think that's treating the entire that form that shows the designer form that shows up as the entire picture box? And that's why the scroll bar is not in the picture box.
Let's see. Here's picture box. It's a new picture box. See, yeah, he might be sitting in front of my scroll bar. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Size equals new size.
You never added a picture box to your designer, right? That's
Well, it's supposed to be just the image. Here's the picture box, and here's where I have the background color, the size of it. This is what's moving around.
yeah.
So so this it'll tromp over my horizontal scroll bar, but it shouldn't erase it.
Because what we've done on ours is we've actually added a picture box to our designer, and then
Yeah.
the scroll bar is able to be
Yeah.
inside of that picture box. I think what yours is doing, I may be wrong.
Yeah.
but I think your picture box is being, or your designer form is being treated as the picture box
Yeah.
entirely.
So I think what I'm going to do, with that in mind, I'm going to comment out me creating a picture box here. I'm going to go over to the designer and put in a picture box. And now I know his name is picture box 1. I'm going to back here and saying, without changing my code, I'm just going to say private pbox ball dim pbox ball as picture box equals picture box 1, equal to the one I created in designer. And as an experiment, now everything else should work because I'm still messing with pbox ball. Let's see what difference this makes. Rather than create it here, use the one that designer gave me and see if that behaves differently. And I have a crash. Because when I try to initialize the ball, he doesn't exist yet. Where do we initialize ball? We initialize ball here. And that's done on new. New form 1. Yeah, it's because of the method they've used. They've basically broken how a normal application works. So I guess what I would do, I would write an application or go ask ChatGPT to give me a different version.
Because I think at this point it's completely
Yeah, it's broken. It's broken the way I was expecting graphics to work. So here's another lesson you learn is, if you do it one way, you may lock yourself out of being able to use Designer. That was what seems to have happened to me, because I took what code he gave me, and he was drawing things rather than assuming I had controls in there.
Yeah.
That I had like a panel. I prefer it having a panel that it bounces around in.
It treated your entire designer form as the picture box.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Completely.
Because it wrote the code for me rather than thinking, hey, you may have a designer and but then I had to put a timer and a paint box in there. So if I go back to ChatGPT and modify my question here, visual, basic, animated, bouncing ball, Maybe I give it more general requests. See what it gives me now.
I think you should type an application, because then it knows.
Maybe.
Just to give you the picture box one.
Yeah, this is.
It expects you to put it in the designer. And not
Yep.
through the code.
Yeah, that is doing the same thing for me, doing its own graphics. Let's try that again. Visual Basic, application, bouncing ball, animation. No, it's still creating a bouncing ball for me and doing the graphics for me, overriding my own paint. I think the key is it's overriding the normal paint, getting down into the details.
So try going to a new chat completely.
I wonder what phrase exactly did you use?
So what I did was, I said create a moving ball application example in Visual Basic. Application example.
No, it keeps giving creating the picture box.
Just copy that, what you just wrote.
Yeah.
Create a new chat completely. Like go up to the top and do new chat.
Here, new chat.
Yeah. Try that and see if that works.
Okay.
And then do the same thing. Create a moving ball application.
There you go. Now it gives me the.
So that's the one that I got.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay. So I had been asking it questions before, and it was remembering perhaps some details.
I think because once it gives you code, it keeps
Yeah.
going back to the code of what's
Yep.
already showing you, and then it keeps re-editing the same one. So you have to create a new chat.
So now I have something that gives me picture. It assumes now I have a picture box that's going to be moved around. I like this better because now I can use things. And look at the code is a little bit. Let's see. Does it give me the? Yeah. There's the bouncing off the wall. There's the speed. Look at that. Much simpler code because I guess I wasn't asking it. I didn't ask it as complicated a question as I was before,
Yeah.
giving me more complex code.
This one expects you to actually edit in the design.
Yeah.
So that allows you to add tools from the toolbox.
So I'm going to use this because I know I can get there quick. I'm just going to copy paste that into my new form. And I'm just going to start over for a new application because look how much simpler code I got. And adding a timer in picture box isn't that big a deal. I like using the designer, but it does make me need the designer. So that first example that I worked through, this doesn't need the designer at all. It actually disables anything you do in designer, which is not a good thing. I'd rather have something that I can use and then use the designer to build on. So I'm going to close that and start a new one. So close that. Stop debugging, and I'll start a new app. And then paste this code, but it will need me. So I'm going to go down to windowsforms.net framework. Windows Forms.
There we go.
Love it. Where's my Windows Forms app?
Harley, I recreated what we did in World Wide Web. Oh,
There you go.
So you just added more balls.
Yeah. Way to go. Yeah, if you can recreate something from one language to another, that's great practice at seeing the syntax change and even comparing performance.
I'm just looking at the syntax change because it's like all I've done is I know the framework of it. I just queried from ChatGPT or from GPT-4 how to set it up specifically.
Excellent. Okay, so I've got this. I'm gonna right away, I think I can go to view code here. Yeah, I can go view code there and put my code right there. It's broken because it needs a picture box 1 and a timer 1. So I come over here to my designer, drag in a picture box. Oh, draw a picture box. Drag in a timer. That is down here in components, I believe. And it just sits there. Oh, timer.
Very similar to.
So timer 1 is there now. Form 1 now. All the only thing left is my picture box has no picture.
I haven't set up a bit.
So I go back to designer. I'll give my picture box a color right now. No image.
I'm not using a picture box. I'm just using the whole form. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and browse to my image. I'm gonna import. I like the import part too. Downloads. bball.png. And okay. And I get that weirdness because I don't know what's going on. And let's change the stretch, the size mode to be stretch. There. And okay, little chunkier though, huh? A lot chunkier than the other one. So there's the comparison between the drawing my own graphics or dealing with the graphics. There may be a way of smoothing that out. But let's go do the scroll bar now. Gotta go find that now. I'm just gonna go to, it's an H scroll bar. I'll just go to all controls and find H scroll bar. Draw the scroll bar. Okay, put it up there. Now, the scroll bar is simply going to change the value of ball speed x. So I'll say ball speed x dot equals h scroll bar bar 1 dot value. Now the scroll bar should appear because I'm using the designer in the right way. And there's my scroll bar. I don't like how they look now. I'd rather have a little boundary around them. Let's see. Oh yeah, it is moving faster in the X, and there, see the it moved past the edge of the window, and have to make it come back. Here, I lost it.
Panel control? No. Like as a
Reduce the speed
it's like a container.
in X.
I'm
Try to go
using-
find it.
I'm using
There it is. Now it'll
so
bounce.
there's the e.graphics object. That's what I'm using to draw it, and then to draw like event, paint event arcs. And then I'm using form 1, the paint event. Yeah. And I'm using a timer control. But I'm using not a timer control from the toolbox in the design view. I'm creating a new timer, like timer club, like I initialize a new timer at this top of my form. Yeah. Okay. And then
Notice here, whenever it's going left, if I ever adjust the speed, it immediately starts going right, because I'm setting my ball speed to be a positive number, because the scroll bar is always going to be 0 to 100. So to keep it from changing direction when I increase the speed, I'm going to need to say ball speed x equals scroll bar value multiplied by the either -1 if it's going negative. So I think I'll do this. So if ball speed x, before I start here, dim reverse b left as boolean, b left equals ball speed x is less than 0. If b left, if I'm going to the left, then a ball speed x times equals -1. Remember, because this will give me a positive value. I don't want to change direction if I'm only wanting to change speed. So I can't just say ball speed x equals the scroll bar value. I check to see, oh, is it a negative direction? Make sure it's a negative in that whatever speed that was. Now when I run it, when I adjust my speed, it's not going to suddenly keep going to the right. So right now, it'll speed up going to the right. But now if I speed it up, it won't change to the right while I'm adjusting its speed. The cool thing about coding this way is you have working code, you can tweak it, and you can learn new things about how to deal with objects, how ChatGPT or some smart guru out there on websites that show example code, you learn how to do new things based on what other people do. So here I'm learning from AI how to do some coding with timers. This one gave me a simpler starting application, left me with the familiar designer, but I did have to add the picture box. But more familiar things from his code that he gave me. The other one gave me much more complex code. I was comfortable with it because I've done graphics like that before. But it is a higher learning curve, but you do have the graphics capabilities. Now, mine is noticeably more chunky in movement than that first example. And I don't think the timer is any faster or slower. Here's what I can do to try to make it less chunky, is I can decrease the timer interval. What is my timer interval? Right now my timer interval, if I click on it, its interval right now is 100. Let's change that to 10. So it should be moving more often. That means my speed should also be reduced. Let's look at the code and make our initial speed. We'll just see what 5 does. I think it'll be just moving faster, but smoother now, just because my timer is happening more often. Now, there's a limit to how fast my timer can go. This is another way to increase speed, is just reduce your timer interval. Let's reduce that interval a little bit more here in the designer. I could even have a scroll bar adjusting the timer. Let's reduce that interval to, how about to 1. See what happens. It did not get much faster. There is a limit on how fast you can make your timers run with Visual Basic. And I realize we are out of time, having so much fun. So for this one, I'll put an upload section. It is just for you to upload a bouncing ball application starting with something that AI helped you get going. You can embellish it to your heart's content, and I'd love to see what you come up with. The next challenge may be tweaking this in some creative ways. But it's fun to see the product of your work and understanding the code it gave you as well. So not learning new code, more of learning how to deal with something. You're welcome. Oh, I'm not with that. And stop the recording, of course.